Imagine you are the richest person on earth. But there is one problem. Every single dollar you have comes from one source, one product, one resource, one well in the ground. And that well has an expiration date. What do? Do you wait and hope the expiration never comes? Or do you spend everything you have left buying something that will never run out? That is not a hypothetical question. That is the exact decision Saudi Arabia made in 2016. And what they decided to buy with their last decades of oil wealth is so calculated, so aggressive, and so deeply misunderstood by the rest of the world that most analysts are still describing it wrong. What you are about to see is not a story about money. It is a story about survival. And the most important strategic lesson of the 21st century. Here is the number that drives everything in this video. 30 years. That is the internal window Saudi Arabia has operated around for decades, the period during which oil revenues stay large enough to fund a complete national transformation. After that window closes, the math stops working. And here is what makes that so dangerous. You cannot build a new economy after your old one collapses. You have to build it while the old one is still generating cash. So the question became, if you had 30 years and nearly $1 trillion, what exactly do you buy? That question created the Public Investment Fund. The PIF, originally founded in 1971 as a modest domestic tool, the PIF was completely reimagined after 2016 under Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. Today, it manages approximately $925 billion in assets, with a target of $2 trillion by 2030. But here is what almost nobody tells you about the PIF. It is not investing like a traditional sovereign wealth fund, looking for safe returns. It is investing like a nation that knows exactly how much time it has left. And the strategy it is executing has never been attempted by any government in history. So what is that strategy? Most people look at Saudi Arabia's spending and see a shopping spree. Sports teams, golf tournaments, video game companies, a city in the desert. What they are missing is the architecture beneath all of it. Because Saudi Arabia is not buying assets. It is buying ecosystems. And ecosystems behave completely differently from individual investments. Here is the hidden logic that almost no analyst makes explicit. The future global economy has strategic bottlenecks, critical positions that every major industry will be forced to pass through to scale. Compute infrastructure for AI, clean energy corridors connecting continents, logistics routes between Asia, Europe, and Africa, cultural platforms that shape the priorities of the next generation. Saudi Arabia is not trying to dominate any one of those sectors. It is positioning itself as the unavoidable node inside all of them simultaneously. And once you understand that, the entire strategy changes shape. Because this is not investment. This is gravity. And once a nation has gravity, other things orbit around it automatically. But let us get specific, because the individual bets Saudi Arabia is making are even more aggressive than most people realize. Sports. The PIF acquired a majority stake in Newcastle United, launched the Live Golf League, and brought Ronaldo, Neymar, and Benzema to the Saudi Pro League. Now ask yourself, why would a kingdom trying to diversify its economy spend billions on football and golf? Because attention is infrastructure. When 500 million people watch a Saudi-funded sporting event, Saudi Arabia is not paying for entertainment. It is paying for legitimacy and cultural relevance at a scale that no advertising budget could buy. Gaming. Saudi Arabia is now one of the largest shareholders in Nintendo, Activision Blizzard, EA, and Take-Two Interactive. Owning pieces of those companies means owning the attention, the data, and the spending behavior of 2 billion people worldwide. Artificial intelligence. This is where the strategy becomes most serious. Saudi Arabia has committed billions to AI infrastructure, data centers, and technology partnerships, positioning itself as a major hub for AI compute in a geography that sits at the exact intersection of Europe, Asia, and Africa. And then there is NEOM, a $500 billion megacity being built from nothing in the desert. A linear city called The Line, originally designed to stretch 170 kilometers, house 9 million people, with no cars, no roads, powered entirely by renewable energy. And here's the question everybody asks, but almost nobody answers honestly. Is NEOM actually going to work? Stop for a second, because there is something underneath all of this that almost every analysis of Saudi Arabia's strategy gets completely wrong. Every analyst focuses on what Saudi Arabia is buying. Nobody talks about why those specific assets make them structurally impossible to ignore. Here is the insight that changes everything. Saudi Arabia is not trying to participate in the future economy. It is trying to own the toll roads of that economy. Think about what that means concretely. The owner of a toll road does not need to build the destination. They just need to own the road that everyone else must use to get there. Once global AI companies build operations in Saudi infrastructure, they need stability there. Once global sports leagues and athletes depend on Saudi capital, they need the relationship to continue. Once energy transition supply chains run through Saudi geography and Saudi financing, the kingdom becomes structurally embedded in the new economy, whether the rest of the world wants that or not. This is how you convert money into permanent leverage, not through domination, through dependency. And dependency is the most durable form of geopolitical power ever invented. But here is the part that could make the entire strategy collapse. Let us be completely honest about what is happening on the ground. NEOM has faced serious problems. The line has been scaled back dramatically. The original projection of 9 million residents has been revised to a fraction of that target by 2030. Cost overruns have been documented, and internal documents leaked to the press suggest the project is consuming capital at a rate the original models did not anticipate. And here is the paradox at the center of everything. The PIF's ability to fund all of this still depends heavily on oil revenue, which means Saudi Arabia is using oil money to escape oil dependency. If oil prices fall significantly before the new economy becomes self-sustaining, the entire Vision 2030 strategy faces a financing crisis at exactly the moment it needs capital most. This is not a minor risk. This is the central vulnerability of the entire plan. So why do serious, informed analysts still believe this can work? Because of a rule of power that has nothing to do with Saudi Arabia specifically. Here is the deepest lesson this strategy contains. The future is rarely owned by the inventor. It is almost always owned by whoever moves fastest to control the infrastructure the invention depends on. Amazon did not invent e-commerce. It owned the logistics layer beneath it. Google did not invent search. It owned the attention layer around it. Saudi Arabia did not invent AI, clean energy, or smart cities. But it is moving, aggressively, deliberately, and at a scale no private fund can match, to own the capital and infrastructure layer beneath all of them. And that is where temporary hype becomes permanent leverage. The lesson is not just for nations. The companies, the investors, and the individuals who will define the next decade are not the ones inventing the technology. They are the ones who understand which infrastructure that technology cannot scale without. And they are moving to own it right now, before the rest of the world catches on. So is Saudi Arabia really buying the future? Yes. Not because every project will succeed, and not because NEOM will become what it promised to be, but because even a partial success at this scale permanently reshapes the architecture of global power. Oil built the first Saudi empire by giving the world something it could not live without. The second Saudi empire is being built on the same principle. Not oil this time. Infrastructure, capital, strategic position. The kind of leverage that does not run out. And that leaves one question on the table. If this strategy works, who loses the most? Leave your answer in the comments. The debate starts now. If this video changed the way you see how nations compete for power, subscribe to Titan Theory. Every week, we break down the hidden systems, the power structures, and the strategies behind the world's biggest empires. Hit the bell, because the next video is one you genuinely cannot afford to miss. Saudi Arabia's entire AI strategy, everything you just watched, depends on one company. One American company whose chips have become the single most strategically important technology on the planet. A company that, without meaning to, became the backbone of a new global power race. That is the next video on Titan Theory, the empire behind the empire. See you there.